Dear Founder, as you know, there's no blueprint for entrepreneurship. You wear so many hats, you burn the midnight oil, you pour your heart and soul into everything that you do. But without a doubt, the journey is worth every single second that you put into it. I'm Lindsay Pinchuk, host of the Dear Founder podcast. I say this because I've lived it for over a decade. I started my first company with $500 in my pocket and a baby in my belly. I grew it and I sold it all. This podcast is my weekly letter to you. We'll talk all things starting, growing, nurturing, and in some cases, even selling a business. Together with some of my closest contacts, I'm here to help you find your own success, whatever that means to you. The ride as a founder is the ride of your life. So come on in and join me for another episode that will get you one step closer to reaching your own founder goals. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Founder. Today's guest was a teacher and then a stay-at-home mom who had an idea and together with her husband turned it into a $200 million brand. Yes, you heard that correctly. I can't wait for you to meet Missy Tannen, founder of Boll and Branch. So today on Dear Founder, we have an incredible founder from a brand that you for sure know. You for sure have been served ads across your social media platforms, and you probably have in your home. I have Missy Tannen here, who is the founder and chief designer at Boll and Branch. I'm so excited to hear this story. I'm so excited to talk to her about how they run their company. Missy, welcome to Dear Founder.
Thank you, Lindsay. So happy to be here.
So I am so excited to have you here. Like I said, your PR people pitched you to me. You came across my desk. I was so excited. And I'm so happy that you're here. And your business is amazing. And it really has become a household name. And it is less than 10 years old, correct? 2014?
Correct. We'll be 10 in January this year.
Amazing.
Next year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So take us back. Tell us the story of Boll and Branch and how and why you and your husband, which we'll get into as well, started this company.
Wow. Yeah. So to go back, we launched in January of 2014, but I would say you'd have to go back a year prior to that to really get the start of Boll and Branch. And really, you have to go back to even our childhoods and what makes Scott and I us. And there's so much of us that's in this brand, but I won't bore you with that whole part of it. But really, in 2013, we were going through some personal things. We had actually lost my mother-in-law at the time. And Scott, was at that point in his life where his company had been sold and he was in a job that he didn't really want to be doing anymore. And kind of us just soul searching, what is that you want your legacy to be for the world? What can you do through the work that you do to really make a difference? I had been a third grade teacher for the beginning of my career. Then I stayed home with our 3 daughters when they were really young. There is something with timing in the world and just the right idea at the right time and really going for it that I think happened to us. So our daughters were in young elementary school and preschool at the time when all this was happening. And we also, sounds cliche, but we were renovating our bedroom. So moving from a queen bed to a king. And I would say that just is the context for how the idea of sheets even came to be. But we were really thinking of what's a business that we could do? What could we take control of and really make the best version and reflect the best version of ourselves in? And so there was a period where my husband Scott was consulting and I wasn't working. It was a very scary period for a very short time period. And just thinking of ideas, what could we do? And I go back to the bedroom renovation because I love anything where you can take it apart, put it back together in a different way. And so at that time, I was like, wow, we've made this beautiful room and raised the ceiling into the attic. And now we're at the point where we can decorate it and, okay, I'm going to go to the mall. Luckily, I live right down the street from the Short Hills Mall in New Jersey, which is an incredible mall. and also near every other, department store and bedding retailer you can imagine. And so the question was, what kind of sheets should I buy? And Scott was like, this is the most ridiculous thing that you're having trouble picking out sheets. But really what it came down to for us with bedding is, there isn't really a clear market leader, and there aren't really brands that you believe in or inspired by or are doing something different than the way they've been done for the past 50, 60 years or even more. There are a lot of licensed products out there, a lot of just imported, slap a label on it, and that's your bedding products. And when we asked our friends and family, hey, what kind of sheets do you sleep on? Unanimously, people were like, I don't know. And they might cite the retailer where they purchased them. But really early on, we realized there wasn't this affinity or love for your bedding products like there might be for a handbag that you carry or the shoes that you wear. And so once we had this idea of sheets, we were like, wow, maybe there's something there. This is a product that everyone uses every day of their life for a third of your life. And yet there's not this care or attention that goes into them. And so that's really where our journey started. And I would say we then spent the better part of a year really digging in, researching everything we could about not just bedding and what are pain points that customers have, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs start with, how can I make something just a little bit better than what's out there? But for us, it wasn't just the function. Of course, I want to make sure that your fitted sheet always stays tucked in and we have deeper pockets and elastic all the way around. And I oversized the pillowcases just so slightly so that it's easy to get them in. But there's more than that. When I think about product and I think about product design, so at Boll and Branch, that's really been my focus for the past 10 years are the products that we make. And so as much as it matters to me what it looks like and how beautiful it's going to look on someone's bed and how proud they're going to feel, we go a step deeper at Boll and Branch. We believe that the materials that are used, going all the way back to the raw material, is just as important as that end look or that hand feel, how soft it is. Also, the people who are making your products, we want to make sure that they're living better lives for coming in contact with our product. We never wanted to just source and private label a textile, if that makes sense. So makes really total sense. With Boll and Branch, what you're getting is there's so many white sheets out there in the world, but ours are the only ones that I can say from farm to finish, we have thought through every detail, made them in the most ethically sustainable way possible, and taken care of all the people who have, helped bring this product to life. And of course, for the customer, we want it to be the softest, most beautiful bedding that they can depend on. And also at a reasonable price for them.
So you just said something that really perked my ears up, and that was that you take care of the people who basically put into the product from start to finish. How do you communicate that with your customer and with your community?
Yeah, you know what? It's been an interesting journey along that, because to us at Boll and Branch, that is heart and soul to who we are, of how we make the products, how even the partners that we're working with, we treat everyone like a true partner. They're not a vendor or a supplier. Truly, they're an extension of Boll and Branch. But it's not always what the customer wants to hear at that moment, right? They might have just had their sheets rip and they want a new set of sheets, or they saw a beautiful ad on Instagram and they're like, I want that bedroom from Boll and Branch. And that's fine too. Like, we want you to love your sheets. So I would say, for those customers who want to take that, we don't try and tell everything all at once, I guess is what I would say. For the first few years, that's all I tried to do. And I want to tell everybody a whole paragraph about our brand and how we're different and how we're changing the world through our sheets. But that's a lot when you just need a new set of sheets. So I would say it's about at the right moment. It's like going on a date with your customer. You don't need to tell them everything all at once, but when you keep peeling back another layer about Boll and Branch, another layer about Boll and Branch, you just keep surprising and delighting the customers with what you see.
So I know that your job is product designer. We talked about this, when we got on, and I want to kind of get into in a minute how you and Scott divvy things up and what your team looks like. But something that I wanted to ask you is, when you first started this company, you were a teacher. Scott had been consulting. You didn't even say what he was doing when he didn't like his job. I don't think you said that. You didn't, but you don't have to. But that's not the point. The point is that you started this company, this direct-to-consumer product company, with a background that is probably not traditional in terms of direct-to-consumer. So how did you find customers? How did you let people know? Like, how did people find out about Boll and Branch in 2014 when you launched in January?
Yeah, so I would say in January of 2014, when we launched, we mainly relied on word of mouth, our friends, our family. We live in a great town called Chatham, New Jersey. I think everyone in Chatham, New Jersey has Boll and Branch sheets, and had gone, I'm from the Midwest originally, and Scott's from New York, just really tapping into our friends and family. And honestly, that's why I was working so hard on every single sheet we were making to make sure it was perfect, from the color to the hand feel to the stitching to the packaging, because I really treated it like I was going to be, my mom was going to be having these sheets, my sister, my friends, and now all customers who have spent so much of their hard-earned money on these sheets. I take that very seriously. So really it was word of mouth. I would say that there were, in the very beginning, we did have that one kind of tipping point and that breaking moment that, all right, so we were on Facebook. We've told all of our friends and family. So from January to, say, March, sales were great for what we thought. We bought about 1.5 years worth of what we thought was inventory. Our first PO that consisted of white and ivory sheets that I had designed and picked the colors. And, but then, maybe 2.5 months in, there were 3 days where we had no sales. And we happened to be on spring break visiting my parents. So, visiting them in Florida. And I was like, Scott, you cannot tell them anything that's going on. They already think we're crazy, making this investment in our dreams and starting our own company. Do not tell them. So we did not tell them. And don't you know, though, there was a reporter from the Wall Street Journal who was very interested in what we were doing. She had primarily focused a lot of her work on fast fashion and the cost to the environment, the people, and really wanted to understand the cost of making a luxury linen product and what goes into it and she had heard where we were sourcing our cotton from, which is a cooperative called Chetna in India. And at the time, Chetna, I can go into this in a minute, but they really didn't even have enough buyers to support their organic cotton growing. So we came along, and here, we thought we had 1.5 years supply. She kept interviewing Scott at different times over the, say, 2 months that we had launched. And there were the 3 days of no sales. The next day, in the Sunday Wall Street Journal, there was an article about the cost of fashion, of bedding, what's the true cost. And she went through and documented, she said, you have to show me your books. And who's going to show books? Of like what really goes into it.
Right.
But we showed the real cost of the cotton. Our cotton that we're buying, costs more than a finished product for other just imported sheets. When you're doing it the quote unquote right way of organic farming and making sure you're paying people fairly. So anyway, she published this article, and within 24 hours, our entire 18-month supply was gone. So from there, on spring break, we're calling our partner in India and saying, Rajat, we can't believe it. sold out of all these sheets. We need to make more sheets. And I remember even asking him, like, Rajat, when will you be proud of us that we've like made a difference with the organic cotton that we're buying and the supply chain? And he's like, Missy, like, you've already made a difference with that one PO of just changing the way you're thinking about business, about making a product. And now here we are 10 years later and have supported all of these, over 15,000 organic cotton farmers in India. We just hit the $1 million mark for our fair trade premium contributions to the factory workers, where that means on average, each worker is getting at least 2 months of their salaries in addition to their salaries. So it's just like, wow, that the power that one first PO had, and coming up with an idea that was a little different than the norm, and now what that's meant for 10 years.
Do you remember?
Is amazing.
Like, do you remember what was going through your mind when that reporter was asking you questions? Because there are a lot of people that probably would have said, you know what, I'm not comfortable sharing this, and I don't want you to go into my books, and I'm not comfortable talking financials. But the fact that you did changed your life.
Yeah. I think, though, that's something that you find about Scott and I. We're very honest, tell it like it is, very transparent. And it's the same at Boll and Branch. We're honest with where we're making things, share it with our customers. That transparency has just been part of our DNA.
And so I'm guessing you just thought, like, we have nothing to lose. Like,
right.
what are we hiding? We're not hiding anything, right?
Exactly.
It's really incredible. And I think it's incredible just to note the power of PR and what being transparent and authentic can do for your business. I mean, a big part of what I say all the time is, I started my first company by showing up and sharing the transparency and authenticity of being pregnant before social media existed. And that's what attracted people to me. And I'm sharing this, I'm reiterating this because I want people who are listening to understand that you don't have to keep things so close to the vest, and you don't have to worry about what people are going to think. That oftentimes when you do share and let people in to the process behind the scenes, that's when your business really explodes. Right?
I mean, I can't agree with you more. I feel like and you were probably right at the beginning of that, transition in our culture too, to be more open about how people are feeling and how, the impact that different situations have on how we show up in our lives. That I think that was really brave of you and admirable that now we're starting to expect that, though, in a good way. And it should be
expected in a good way.
Yeah. So that's where I think, there are some other direct-to-consumer bedding brands that started right around the same time as us, but chose to do it a different way, chose to go the conventional way, and private label fabric that's coming in from other countries and putting a brand on, a label on it and building up a brand. That's, to me, it's just like, but you could have chosen other ways if you really looked into it and really wanted to care how people were being treated or the materials you were using. Like, how are we the only ones that have chosen this way?
But that makes you. And that's what differentiates your brand, and that's why you are the success that you are, is for your process and for your transparency.
Absolutely. And I guess that's the part too, is you asked, like, how do you share that with the customer? And I think it's something that, we haven't been as forthcoming about. I mean, it's something we're so proud about, and we would never change the way we make products or think about our supply chain. But it's something that I think now is expected by the customers. And one thing that's really interesting is, how I've been talking about, traceability from the very beginning of Boll and Branch. We've tracked every single product that we've made. We know exactly where it came from, the farm to the spinning mill, weaving, dyeing, cut and sew, packaging, and, shipping it out to us. So we've never done anything with that. we've just been accumulating records after records to make sure that we can stand behind everything we sell. And so what we've been working on right now is on our website in just a couple months, you'll be able to go there and type in the lot number of the product that's right underneath the label and see that chain of custody and see every step of the journey to make that product. So I think for those who want to know, like they can see dating all the way back. I think we didn't have it in NetSuite, the first 2 years. So from 2016 onward, everybody can go back and check and see.
That's really cool.
Where their products came from.
So when you started, you were obviously sheets. You said you had your white and ivory sheets, and now you offer very natural extensions to your brand. You're not just sheets anymore. You are bedding, you are towels, you are accessories, there are pillows, there's a whole bunch of stuff that makes total sense on your website. When was it that you started extending off of just sheets, and what did you go to next?
Yeah. So right away, once we were, I think at first you're like, well, I have this limited amount of resource that is my, bank savings that I'm going to ship off to our partners abroad and hope that some bedding comes back. And from there, once I told you that, we went through all of our sheets within, the first few months from that Wall Street Journal article, we really started thinking then about what's next. So we added colors by the fall, just a light blue, a dark blue, a light gray, a dark gray. And then duvets were next. I would like to say that it's because we had this, big, long strategic plan of our product roadmap. But no, the sheeting fabric, you can cut it and use it as a duvet also. So I think being really resourceful in the beginning and then taking some of the other solid colors and using that for the banding or the trim colors, that's really how we were able to extend it so much. But I think some of that gut instinct, it can get you really far until the point where I decided that everybody's bed needed, if you have a king bed, you need 3 euros in the back and 2 king shams in addition to your pillowcases and the lumbar and deck pillows. And then we had a lot of Euro shams for a good couple years. So I'm very happy to say we have, a whole team of people who help us now think through, how much we should be buying and where to go next. But it was very natural, I would say, in the beginning, so we went to duvets. And then people, literally one of the most frequently asked questions to our customer service team was, and to us, like Scott and I were customer service in the beginning, you have to remember, but is, okay, I've got all these great sheets and duvets and shams now. Where should I get the pillow? So what do you say then? There wasn't a pillow in the market that's responsibly sourced where the down and feathers are a byproduct of the food industry. I wanted to ensure that it was. So I went back to the Midwest, where I know you and I are from, and worked with a farm that, we were able to. Anyway, I'm going on and on,
no,
but really that's how it just went. That, okay, we need some pillows. And now, all right, if we're making pillows, like we now have like the basics of your bed made. Well, we also wanted to do some pillow protectors then if we're selling pillows. Towels was a natural, just kind of bed and bath, thinking of that master bedroom suite. And then I would say what's been really fun recently is, all right, we have this incredible foundation of bedding, but really adding in textural layers and coming up for 24, we have some really exciting top of bed introductions to bring in. But right now, in just a month in September, we're actually bringing in some furniture. So we've designed ourselves and have 3 beautiful silhouettes with, of course, like our fabric is organic cotton and recycled poly and linen, like natural materials. And we're really excited about that because now we really have that foundation for you to create the whole Boll and Branch room like we're showing in our imagery.
It's so awesome.
It's
so awesome. So you brought up your team, you mentioned your team, and you said something very funny that I can totally relate to. You said, you and Scott were customer service, and I get it because I too was customer service at Bump Club for years, in addition to photographer and marketing expert and web designer and admin and booker, the whole 9 yards. So what does your team look like today?
Yeah.
And what does your team look like today? And what is Scott's role?
Yeah. So I guess I'll start there because when it was just the two of us, it was kind of like Scott's previous world was online marketing. So he had come from, and he did enjoy where he worked. It was just that end period when the company got sold. So he worked at Kraft and Nabisco and, worked at some amazing companies with heritage brands that really, Scott was the internet guy back in 2000 when they didn't really have, they didn't have an online presence. So he really grew there and learned from the best of the best. And so when we started, he was like, if you can make it, I can sell it. So think about it like that back in the very beginning, made our products, brought in a wedding photographer and would stage my room and steam my sheets for days before. And, like you said, wore so many hats. And then I would get the photos and make the assets. And then he really oversaw more of the business operations and warehousing, website, that kind of. So now if you fast forward 10 years, we have the most incredible team. We now have about 110 employees full time. And then
congratulations.
Thank you. 4 retail stores. That's growing to 6. We'll be 6 in the next 3 weeks. And so I would say that we've grown over the years. We make everything in-house. So every fabric, every design. So we have a design team, a product development team. You go through the production, we have that side of the the side of the business that's product related and working with our partners. And then you have, I suppose, many other companies, you have your finance and your marketing team and customer service. Yeah. And now adding a whole retail dimension to us.
Missy, are you able to share anything about your financials or your financial growth?
I mean, I would say we've set ourselves up to be a different company than a lot of these other DTC companies where they take all this investment and say they're unicorns and then they lose money. We honestly can't comprehend how that works. And I think kind of the market's proving that it might not work. So we've been profitable since our second year. We'll hit close to 200 million by the end of this year. So I'm just so proud of what we've been able to do in 10 years. No, I can't.
I hope that you are so damn proud of yourself because you were just detailing this time that was very scary. I mean, that was what you said. It was a little bit of a scary time. I wasn't working and Scott was consulting. That was what you said. And you told me you have a business that's about to reach $200 million and you should be just so proud of yourself. And I know that a lot of times founders don't take a minute to be like, holy shit, look what I built. And you really should take a minute to say, holy shit, look what I built, because it's really fucking awesome.
Oh, you're sweet. There's no time for that though, right?
I know.
I keep saying for our 10th anniversary next January or in 4 months, maybe I'll take a moment then because there's something about that anniversary, right? Or hitting 10, it feels like, I don't know. That might be a nice point of reflection.
Did you ever imagine when you started this, could you ever have comprehended that you would be where you are today?
Oh my gosh, Lindsay, no way. Honestly, when Scott and I were just even kicking around the idea in the beginning, I was like, this is amazing. I'll store the sheets at this local storage facility down the road. I'll package them up and ship them out myself every day. And Scott was like, no, that wouldn't be a business. We need to get a warehouse and really, invest and make this like he had that. I will give him that credit. He had that ambition and dream for what this could be. And I was just focused on every little detail about the sheets. And then it's just like, okay, you can order as many as you want. I'm going to make sure they're all perfect.
But that's what makes this amazing, is that you both had a vision in a very different way for this business. He had a vision for the actual business and the operations and a dream for that. And you had a vision for the actual product. And that's why it works.
That's really, Lindsay, that's a really great point.
You told me when we got on, Lindsay, I am the chief designer and I make sure, I wrote it down. You said, I make sure that every single thing is perfect with our product. And Scott makes sure that everything is perfect with your operations, with your business, with your marketing, with your customer acquisition. And you need both of those roles in a business. And I think that it's, and the other thing that you said to me too was I don't really deal with the numbers in the business. And so I bring that up for the people who are listening. If you don't have a co-founder, that's okay. But I think that it's very important. I know that it's very important to recognize what Missy shared with me and to know your strengths and weaknesses so that you can have an actual business, because look what you built.
Yeah, that's such a good point to everyone out there who has an idea or wants to do something. It's like, very few people can do everything on their own, right? Like, I don't even know if anyone actually can.
No.
Like, you need to surround yourself with people who know more than you in areas that you don't, right? So, and then there are areas of yourself that you have to just lean on and trust that, you know what, I might not be the very best because there's other people who've done this for 20 years than me. And I think there was a bit of that like imposter syndrome for a little while in the beginning. So like, I think that's what also holds people back from wanting to share, ask for questions like, well, I should probably know this, but the reality is no, you shouldn't. You've never done this before, so there is a little bit of that internal struggle I know I've had over the years, but I knew I could out hustle and outwork anyone to figure out how to make the best product. Right. And so for me, I think having a co-founder who has extremely different strengths, and his strengths are my weaknesses and my strengths are his weaknesses. Or I don't even know if it's a weakness. It's just things that we're not interested in or care about, or passionate about. And so that's been really helpful. And I think that's how even a lot of people ask me like, oh, your husband and wife, like, how do you do that?
Well, that was my next question. My next question was going to be like, do you take your work home with you?
And of course we do. It's our life, of course, like any founder, anyone starting something or in it. Now I'm in it for 10 years, it's just part of our lives. It's part of our children's lives. It's part of our friends' lives, that it's just an extension of us. And so that's where I feel really proud of the values, like what makes us tick is really embedded in Boll and Branch, and making sure that we are thinking of every detail, not because we want to be, annoying or nitpicky, but I just want everything thought through so the customer doesn't have to. Everything is just, it's going to work. It's going to be beautiful. And really having a co-founder with different strengths really lets us both focus on different areas, like you were saying, with our strengths.
You brought up a word in the beginning of our conversation that comes up often here, and I think it's important to kind of re-bring up in this conversation as we kind of near the end of our conversation and close the loop. You brought up the word legacy, and that in the beginning, Scott was kind of like, before you guys started Boll and Branch, when he left his company, he was thinking like, what do I want my legacy to be? So what do you want your legacy to be? And what do you want the Boll and Branch legacy to be?
Oh, Lindsay, that's an amazing question. I think I think for Boll and Branch, the thing that we started from the beginning, the thread that runs through it is just how we treat people and how you can care for people through business. Meaning, our customer service is top notch. Like no one can compete with that. We will go overboard for every single customer, make sure that they are happy and they love their products. And if they don't, of course, they can return on them or exchange them. And we always do what's right by the customer. And I think that extends to how we treat everyone, that, whether it's a partner on the other side of the world or a partner on our team, we just can act with compassion and thoughtfulness for everybody. And I think that's the legacy for Boll and Branch is Sheets is the vehicle that we do it through, but we really can make a difference through the way we interact with each other, work with each other, and then take care of each other.
And what about you?
I don't know, Lindsay. That's so hard. For me, I guess I go to the place where, being a mom of 3 daughters, I just want them to see that they can do anything they put their minds to. And there's always a way to do it. I think that's the thing with Boll and Branch is it's easy to gloss over now 10 years and say, wow, you've built this business. There were so many ups and downs, and there still are every single day ups and downs. And I try and be really honest with them too about those as much, they were little in the beginning when we thought like, oh, are we going to have any customers tomorrow? They didn't know, but we try and reflect and tell them that and share that with them. That I just want them to know that they can do anything they want to do and do it with grace and kindness.
So my last question for you is the same question I ask everyone at the end. And you said you've listened, so then maybe you're prepared. But what are 3 things that you would tell a female founder if they were just getting started?
The first thing I would say is don't stop. When you come to an obstacle, come to something that you are challenged by, are worried about, like, I know it's so awkward. I know there's like part of me that just wants to like shudder and, shrivel up, but like you can't stop. Like just keep going. Like I was saying before, there's always a workaround. There's always a way that you can make something possible. You just have to be creative or like come back and like look at it from a different point of view of how can you move forward in a different way. So I'd say don't stop. Number 2 is reach out for help. Like what we were talking about before. Like, I don't think anyone can do this on their own, even just for moral support and like mental health. But I think that there are so many people that you surround yourself with in life, whether it's your friends, your family, or mentors, or, there's going to be people that you want to meet and find to give you advice. So I think just don't go it alone, reach out and get help. And then the third is, it is, like we all know, it is a grind. It is a pressure cooker. And there are times where you can't let it go, which I know we all have. So really picking those times where you need to park this aside and still, do things in your life, or like, don't let this fully consume you. Because I think for me, it does consume so much of my life. But as I've gone, I never want to feel like I missed out on something else during my life. So making sure that you are still able to, I don't know, for me, I never wanted to miss any of my kids' events or things at school that I prioritized, or, something with a friend that you always wanted to do. I think that there's a time that this is all consuming, but you need to make sure it still works with your life. Does that make sense? And not miss out on other things.
It makes total sense. Missy Tannen, co-founder and chief designer of Boll and Branch. You just mentioned to me that you want your legacy to be that your kids can do anything and do it with grace. And I want to say that you are one of my most gracious guests. You are setting such a great example for your kids and for everyone out there. So keep up the amazing work. I cannot wait to see where this goes. I can't wait to see what you do for your 10-year anniversary. And I'm so appreciative of your time and of you being here. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Well, Lindsay, I can't thank you enough. I feel like this was such a fun, reflective hour getting to chat with you. And like I mentioned before too, like I've been such a big fan of yours. I'm so thankful for what you do for women founders, and just being able to have these conversations that, you know, it's real life and we're all going through it, and just for you to share your voice and your experiences and include other people in that conversation is just really magical. So thank you for having me, and thank you for this conversation.
Thank you for saying that. I can't wait to share this episode. I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with Missy as much as I enjoyed having it. She is absolutely lovely, and I am just really honored that she reached out and wanted to be on Dear Found Her, and we made this happen, because this was just such an amazing conversation. And hearing her journey of going from an idea to $200 million in revenue is really just mind-blowing. There were so many takeaways from today's conversation. I invite you to take out a pen and paper so that you can write these down. I also invite you to sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. We will be sharing more takeaways, but we are relaunching our newsletter later this fall. So you're going to want to get on that so you don't miss what's coming soon. Link is in the show notes. For now, here are my top 5 takeaways from my conversation with Missy Tannen, founder of Boll and Branch. Number 1, tap into word of mouth when you launch. You hear me say all the time, send that email. Make sure that you do. Let your friends and family and everyone in your network know what it is that you're doing and how they can help and support you. Missy and Scott relied on family and friends to use, purchase, and spread the word about their product when it started. Number 2, don't be afraid to be transparent with the press. In doing so, Boll and Branch landed an article that ended up selling out their 18 months of inventory in just a few days. Number 3, transparency also leads to greatness and trust among your customer. Scott and Missy pride themselves on honesty and transparency. This is the backbone of their brand. You are going to start seeing even more from them in this regard, and this is what makes their brand stand out. Number 4, find a co-founder who complements you. Create a shared vision together and use your skills to make it come to life. Number 5, don't be afraid to reach out for help. You can't do this alone, so whatever help looks like for you, make sure you ask for it. Thank you so much to Missy Tannen and the Boll and Branch team for making this interview happen. I have so enjoyed being a part of sharing your story, and I hope that you, the listeners, loved it as much as I did. And thank you to everyone who tuned in this week and listened to this conversation. As always, you can stay tuned. We have another brand new episode with an incredible founder coming your way next week. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being here.